Dancers Group is experimenting with new ways to unify, strengthen, and amplify voices in the Bay Area. We're excited to share a variety of ideas and stories. Welcome. We are back with In Conversation, an audio series of interviews exploring intergenerational conversations about the art of dance and different folks' relationship to dance. I'm your host, Andrea Spearman. I'm a light-skinned Black woman with my dark brown curly hair in two-strand twists up in a loose bun and wearing black and brown glasses. Today, I'm wearing a pink cable knit sweater. And today we have with us the fabulous Tonya Amos. Please introduce yourself and describe yourself for the listeners.
Thank you so much. I am Tonya Amos. I am a light-skinned Black woman with curly hair and gray streaks on either side, like the Bride of Frankenstein. I have a loose bun on the top of my head, a black t-shirt, and I am wearing a headset today.
So, Tonya, you've created such a staple in the Bay Area dance community with Grown Women Dance Collective's annual Juneteenth celebration, sharing the history of the holiday through dance and music. Can you please briefly share how Grown Women Dance Collective came to be and why Juneteenth?
Right on. Thank you. So, Grown Women Dance Collective, I grew up in San Francisco. Long story short, I ran off. I danced professionally in New York for 15 years. And then when I moved back, I opened a Pilates studio. I thought as an artist, you could retire. A few years in, I was like, oh, that's not a thing, isn't it?
Never.
So, between 2006 and about 2009, the African American community lost some really impactful community icons, people that had really changed the fabric of the nation and the world. There were people like Rosa Parks and Gregory Hines, Coretta Scott King, Nina Simone. These were people that made a really, really big impact on all of our lives. And some of these folks were passing, and there were a lot of fanfare and a lot of respect as they deserved. And some people were passing and nobody was noticing. So, a really good friend of mine, Michelle Ned, that danced with me way, way, way back in the day, got together with other good friends, Eurydice Ross and Marista Castillo. And we said, we're artists. We can figure out how to honor these people. And we had never done a show before. Our budget, we thought, was $300. We thought we were going to, produce a concert on that. Right? Little did we
Bless
know.
your hearts.
Add some zeros. Bless our hearts, right? This was 13 years ago. What did we know? But we came together to honor these African-American heroes, and teach and celebrate Black history. Why Juneteenth? Because when we started this project in 2009, luckily things have shifted since then, but in 2009, we had lost most of our Juneteenth celebrations in the Bay Area. Growing up, Juneteenth was front and center in the Black community, and 2009 came, and it was that time period where municipalities were not allowing gatherings. They were citing insurance reasons, kind of like in the early days of hip hop. Like all of a sudden, like, we don't want to have gatherings because of our insurance. So there were very, very few Juneteenth gatherings during that time period. Now, the good thing is they have come back front and center. But we decided during that time that this holiday is so important that it needs to be honored. And what an incredible way to do it, by honoring our cultural icons that helped change the fabric of the country and the world.
You are absolutely right, Tonya. We have to celebrate holidays as they are occurring, as they come up, and with joy and splendor.
Joy and splendor. I love it. I love it. And what better ways to do that than with arts? I would say there would be no society and no revolutions without artists.
Absolutely. And arts education and service seem to be a large part of your ethos as an artist. Would you say that that's true?
Arts education and service. Absolutely. To me, arts are an expression of life. They are continuity with who we are as human beings. And education is front and center, as far as none of us would be where we are right now without educators in our lives that grabbed us by the arm or our ear or our behind or whatever and said, let's do things this way. And service, to me, that's not a separate thing from how we live our lives. I really believe that wherever you are, I always say, whatever your skill set is, do it, even a little bit, to make the world better. So I say, if that's marching, that's marching. If it's legislating, legislate. If it's lawyering, lawyer. If it's hair cutting, haircut. Right. And so the only two things I'm really good at are arts and wellness. And so I use those things to impact our society, to impact our culture, to impact our communities. And I'm very, very cognizant that I'm standing on my ancestors' shoulders. None of us got to where we're at right now. You know, I was that kid that grew up in San Francisco. I would say back when there were Black folks in San Francisco. We're still there, but trying to get pushed out. But I grew up in San Francisco without running water, electricity, or food. I am very conscious, as you know, one of few people in my neighborhood that survived the crack epidemic, survived 3 strikes, that I, quote, made it. And it is my job to not even go back to the community, because my feet are still in the community, but go back to the community and grab as many people as I can and pull them out, help them pull themselves out, because that's what happened for me. I would not be standing without a lot of community support and a lot of luck. I think wherever we are, wherever we are standing, whatever we do, quote, that's big terms, quotes, because most of us do a lot of things. If we just do a little bit to contribute, this is how we shift the axis of the world.
Yes, absolutely. Part of what you just said, that moving forward, but still reaching back into the community, part of the Juneteenth celebration that you put forth has health, very much health attached to it. It's dealing with mental health, it's dealing with physical health for seniors, for folks who are non-dancers that want to start moving. What made you want to add those kind of extra things to this celebration of usually of dance and music together? Like, why those add-ons? Why that additional health portion?
That's a really good question. All of this is kind of an evolution. It didn't happen overnight. So when I came back from New York and I thought you could retire as a dancer, I opened a Pilates studio. I had a very, quote, successful business, which is kind of a trip because I didn't have any business experience. When I opened my Pilates studio, I was a dancer. Well, dancers are smart. We're creative. We're hustlers, right? If you grow up broke and Black in America, there's a good chance you know how to take 2 pennies and spread it and, you know, make a feast for the whole family. And so when I came back and I opened the studio, I was working exclusively on the front end in, quote, wellness, right? I'm a certified Pilates teacher, and I quickly accidentally became specialized in people with back and joint pain. I started doing fall prevention for seniors. I started working with pre and postnatal women. I was doing a lot of stuff around osteoporosis and scoliosis. I also had a lot of people that were like, I just want to get in shape. But what happens is when you do good work, people like begets like, right? If you get someone out of pain, then they tell their friends, and then next thing you know, you got 5 more people with that same situation, right? So my studio became kind of a haven for folks to come together, to create community, to get out of pain, to get in shape. And I'll talk about this in a moment, but it also became a place for Black and brown folks to be able to experience wellness. So I use the Pilates studio as a place to develop my skills and get wellness into the world.
Yes.
And then I started the Juneteenth Project, and that was the arts piece. All this time that I was running the studio, I would go back into our neighborhoods nights and weekends and get free Pilates classes into Black and brown neighborhoods. right? So I was kind of doing the Robin Hood thing. It was working with rich folks during the day and then taking this work back into the community at night. And so when I would show up, I'd say, hey, I'm Tonya from Aspire Pilates Center, and we're going to do some Pilates. And we were getting these skills, these back pain skills, these prenatal wellness skills, these fall prevention skills into our communities. Well, and then I had Grown Women Dance Collective. That was arts piece. In 2017, I closed my brick and mortar to be able to go back to the community full time. I wanted to really focus on BIPOC communities having access to this life-changing work. So at this point, I shoved the two organizations together because the Pilates was the wellness piece, Grown Women was the arts for social justice piece, and now I shoved them together. Now Grown Women Dance Collective's arts and wellness for social justice. Right. So one side of my brain is wellness and the other side is arts. So when we started doing these celebrations, these amazing concerts, we always brought about 200 beautiful little babies to the concerts. And they were amazing kids that came from organizations all over San Francisco, from Oakland and Berkeley and Richmond and Bay Point and Antioch. And it was fantastic. They would come and they'd take classes with teachers that looked like them, and they'd take a backstage tour, and they'd have lunch, and they'd experience history, which is done in this visceral, beautiful way through the arts. And they'd leave with a Black History bio. So it was really impactful for them. So we did that year after year after year. During the year, I continued to go back into the communities to teach free dance classes or dance for literacy classes, or dance with Black history. And then the other side of my head would be Pilates and fall prevention and pain prevention, right? So when we hit the pandemic, suddenly we're all inside and folks are really suffering. Folks are really going through it, turning up the fire on BIPOC communities. It just got to the point that physical and emotional stuff was just over the top. And so we were trying to figure out how to support community, how to continue to have people engaged and loving on each other and feeling supportive and feeling good in this cyberspace. How do we do this? So the first year we somehow got that concert up before anybody knew how to do a concert in cyberspace. That was a crazy thing, but it was in the middle of the uprisings, and we were like, "Ooh, our community! If we've ever needed this concert, we need this right now." And so we organized the Juneteenth concert, and we realized at that point we really needed to bring a mental health piece in. So we brought in Dr. Artis Martin, who's a Black female psychiatrist, and she did a mental health workshop, a Black mental health workshop, which was really impactful. 1,000 people attended. It was really a good, juicy thing. People were sitting around in their house. People were feeling sedentary. People were feeling isolated. People were feeling alone. Well, we have all these amazing dancers that are former soloists with Alvin Ailey, American Dance Theater, and Dance Theater of Harlem, and Martha Graham, and Bill T. Jones, and Bali Spanico. We have all these incredible artists, and we thought, what if we brought these artists into people's homes? So that's where we started our half-hour family-friendly series where all of our dancers in the company teach a class. And it's really important for us that what I put, and again, I'm putting in a big giant quotations here, normal people get to access the power of dance, right? The beauty, the creativity, the self-confidence building, the sense of self-moving in space. You know, as dancers, we take this stuff for granted. And people that have not had the opportunity to take a dance class, it's kind of mind-blowing when you kind of open this world up to them. Everybody knows what it feels like to go out dancing. Everybody loves that, you know, feeling in your body, feeling the music, feeling the beat, exploring, et cetera, et cetera. But what we hear very often from grownups is, I really wanted to take dance classes when I was little and I wasn't able to do it. Or, you know, I did ballet for 2 weeks and then my family couldn't afford it, or whatever the case was. So it's really important for us to open access to dance so everybody gets to experience its powerful grounding, making you feel like you can fly, dropping you back into your body and just a sense of self in a different way that artists, we're lucky to get to experience on a daily basis. But very often the general population doesn't get to experience it. And how special is it to be able to share this magic with everybody?
That's very powerful. And I very much agree that those half-hour classes have definitely been impactful to the community of non-dancers and our dance community at large, because they get a chance to see these artists who have traveled and danced all around the world. They get to experience a new style that may not be familiar to them. So it's great, and it's coming to them at no cost.
Exactly. Our whole thing is, how do we make this powerful work accessible? And during COVID, all of our concerts were always really low cost anyway, which isn't very smart for your bottom line. But we've always said, this is a Juneteenth concert. This is really about engaging Black community and about engaging community to share with us in this journey of history told from our perspective versus the larger society's perspective, which is a really cool thing, because that means in the theater, people are, rocking out and hugging each other, talking to each other, and kids are dancing in the aisles, and grandma's got her hand up over her head like she's in church, and brother's sitting sagging next to a woman with high heels and pearls. It's a really incredible cross-cultural, intergenerational bridge builder.
So, Tonya, talk to us about the Joyful Movement Whole Life Program. What is that?
That's my baby. That's my baby. So, again, I had my brick and mortar for 12 years, and the space became, so I would, like I said, go back into the communities and I would teach free classes. And they were mat classes or they were dance classes, and they were all impactful and they were great. But I had a Pilates studio. And the power of reformer work, the power of a trapeze table work is really transformational for people. So I would go into the community and I'd identify folks and that seemed like really connecting to the work, and they were coming consistently, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd say, hey, if you can get to my studio, you got a scholarship. So over time, people just started showing up into my studio. And maybe it was a young person that would say, can I take a nap in the Princess Tiana room? I would like, go ahead, baby, go take a nap. And then they're hanging around, and then they'd say, hey, what's that green stuff you're eating? And I'd say, it's broccoli. You want some? And they'd say, I don't know about that. And a few weeks later, they're like, maybe I will taste that. Next thing you know, they're now buying broccoli, and their blood pressure, their parents' blood pressure, their grandparents' blood pressure has all dropped. So my studio became kind of a almost like a community center where folks would just find their way in. Young people would need some help with their studying, and so we'd find a tutor for them. We'd get them through high school, we'd get them into college, we'd get them out of college, we'd get them into graduate school. Some of our former students / interns now have double masters in chemistry and biochemistry, right?
Yes.
And they came in just because they needed a place to take a nap, or they're, why don't you go jump on that reformer, see how that feels? Oh, my knee is kind of jacked up. Exactly. Let's get you on that reformer. Next thing you know, they're falling in love with Pilates. They're spending time in the studio. Their friends are spending time in the studio. And so over the 12-year period that my brick and mortar was open, I mentored a lot of folks. We certified some Pilates teachers. These people have gone on. Some of them they're making more than me. They're making somewhere between 100. One was making $160 an hour. Exactly. This is kind of like the dirty little secret that people do not know how much that Pilates teachers make, especially in the Bay Area. So over the years of kind of just organically supporting and mentoring and scholarshiping folks. Traditional Pilates studios are pretty vanilla. And my studio had a good amount of BIPOC coming in and out because I made sure to create a space that they felt safe and could access this really super expensive, life-changing work. So in 2017, I closed my brick and mortar to go back into the community full time. And my intention was to build a pro community sliding scale Pilates studio. And when I say Pilates, can't leave the other side of my brain out. So it's an arts and wellness studio is what's in my brain.
Right.
And then we had these uprisings and the whole world kind of turned upside down. And many organizations realized that they weren't actually doing the work. So the beautiful thing that has come out of that is some people have actually stepped forward. So during that time, Balanced Body, who's the biggest Pilates organization in the world, and I partnered. And so I built an international Pilates initiative for them, diversity initiative. It's the Diversity in Pilates initiative. And part of that was integrating all of the training manuals. So all over the world, when people do Pilates certification now, you will see black and brown bodies. But I built a international scholarship for them. So we're going into our third round. We have 150 black and brown folks studying to be certified teachers all over the US and in 7 countries. This program was based on a blueprint that I had had in my head for years, which became the Joyful Movement Program. I've had this blueprint in my head for years, and I just I couldn't get it off the ground. I needed manuals. I needed some kind of seed money, et cetera, et cetera. So with all of the world turning upside down, I finally got my program off the ground. So I built the Balanced Body program, and then the Joyful Movement Whole Life program is Grown Women Dance Collective's baby. It's a 2-year certification course. We're in our first cohort. We have 11 Black, Latina, and Indigenous folks in the group. The group is dynamic and incredible and intersectional in every way possible. We have folks that are formerly incarcerated, that are currently or formerly unhoused. We have incredible single parents. We have 8 out of 11 people are artists. We've got community activists in the group. So the idea was to get folks that were deeply rooted in community already, that were already doing the work. And they're folks from all over the Bay. And the idea was to get them national Pilates certifications. Plus, here's my big plus sign. It's the Joyful Movement Whole Life program. We know in order to break intergenerational poverty, right? We know if we're going to really build as a community, it takes more than just a certification. It takes more than just a career. So part of that program is Dr. Artis Martin, the Black female psychiatrist, is doing 2 years of free mental health counseling with our entire cohort. We've got Black dietitians working with us. So we've got classes in nutrition and trips to the grocery store and farmer's market. And we have chefs coming in teaching us how to cook culturally relevant and delicious meals. We've got financial empowerment classes, right?
Yes.
And these are all Black practitioners doing this. Financial empowerment classes, we've got business building skills. So by the time we're done with this, everybody's going to have a business plan written. We also are working with finance people that can underwrite for folks that want to potentially open their own businesses. And then what's really exciting about this, and I forget, remember the 2 sides of my brain, dance for literacy. Right.
Yes.
So the idea is to train arts and wellness and get this work back into the community really deeply. What I'm really excited about is they all are going to participate in community impact hours. So they're going to participate in paid internships. And we are going to flood our communities with 2,000 free arts and wellness classes per cohort.
Wow.
Right. So they need those hours to sit for the national exam. The community needs this incredible work. Right. So we're going to pay folks from the community to go back into their own neighborhoods to teach free arts and wellness classes. Then they'll sit for the national exam. They will all pass. We have 100% pass rate on all of the tests up to this point. We're paying for insurance for them for the first 2 years. We're opening, cross your fingers for us, we're opening a sliding scale brick and mortar in downtown Oakland this fall. They will be able to use that space to develop their own clientele, to practice on their friends and family. We're planning on not only going back into the community to the libraries and the shelters and the senior centers and after school programs and all of that to get this incredible work, but this space will be a community resource where people can actually have access to really high quality machine-based Pilates, which I have to tell you, it's life-changing. I mean, the reason why I can walk, let alone dance at age 54, i.e. Grown Women Dance Collective, is because Pilates keeps my body from falling apart completely.
Wow, that is so wonderful to hear about this space that's coming. You said in the fall.
Yep. We are in negotiation with the landlord as we speak. Cross your fingers and toes and eyeballs for us. I don't want to jinx it, so I don't want to speak too much on it yet. But I've got 7 Pilates machines ready to go when I close the studio. They're rented to my clients right now for residual income, y'all. And so I'm going to go and gather those machines back and plop them right into the space in Oakland. And we're going to open up those doors and make sure that our community can have a place that just feels good and feels welcoming, it feels yummy, and they can use their body in new ways in a place that's built for them.
That's amazing. Yes, Dancers Group will definitely keep an eye out on the development of this new space, and with you, Tonya. So exciting.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this. This feels like life's work coming together now.
So last question for you. What would be one thing you want people to take away from the work that you're doing now?
I'm a lot obsessed. Anybody who knows me, I'm a lot obsessed about making the world better, making our community stronger. And arts is a way of creating profound shifts, not in only ourselves, but in our communities and society and globally. Grown Women Dance Collective is arts and wellness for social justice, because I cannot separate the social justice piece from anything that I do. Walking through the world as a Black woman, breathing every breath as a Black woman, there's no separating it. There's no, well, I'm going to do this, and when I have it together, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do something. Or I'm going to make my money, and when I get my money, then I'm going to do something. Right? Or I'm going to do this, and this. And then when I have my stuff together, I'm going to do. No, there is no later. There's only now. And we're standing on generations and generations of ancestors that kept pushing us forward. And I don't believe that any of us have a moment to sit down on that, because if they did not push, none of us would be where we are right now. I understand that we all have different stuff in life. We all have different needs and family responsibilities and financial. I get that. I get this. The concept of tithing, right? I don't go to church, but I love this concept, right? What just a little bit of your time, or just a little bit of your attention, or just a little bit of your money, or just a little bit of your writing emails, right? Wherever you are in your life, if you are a hair cutter, how can you use those scissors to change the lives of people that need that extra support? Right. And so anybody who's around me longer than 5 minutes knows I speak on this proudly. I come from a line of people that burnt down plantations. We burnt down 2, potentially 3 plantations, and that story has been told from generation to generation. And it's my reminder that I can't sit down. And so whether you're an artist, whether you're a a lawyer, whether you're a toenail clipper, whatever you do. Right, I know, that's a little ratchet there. But you know what I'm saying? Whatever you do, you can find a way with just a little bit of time. You don't have to sacrifice everything, but just a little bit of time. How can you contribute to making society better with the skills that you already have? Because we have them.
Yes.
We have them. What are you already doing, and how can you use those skills to make this world better? So that's my takeaway. Social justice is not a separate thing. Social justice is not about it's right now. Whether we know it, whether we like it or not, we're breathing it or we're not breathing it. So how do we breathe it into existence with what we're good at, with what skills and magic and artistry that we have?
Wow. What a rich and full discussion that we've had.
Thank you so much.
Tonya, would you please tell the audience where they can learn more about you, the Joyful Movement Program, and Grown Women Dance Collective? Where can they find you?
So our website is grownwomendance.org. That's plural, grownwomendance.org. And that's our basic website. It has our programs, which are our concerts and our dance projects, our arts and wellness classes, and Joyful Movement Whole Life workforce development through arts and wellness program. All there.
Thank you again so much for this time, Tonya.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us for this audio experience. For additional content that reflects our dynamic dance community, visit our In Dance article archive at dancersgroup.org.